In this video, I'm going to show you how to completely disassemble the lower portion, the frame of your Glock. This is a Glock 17 Gen 5. There are other videos out there that show you how to do this, but I'm going to use some real close-up photography here and try and make everything as clear as possible so you can see exactly what's going on. First, as always, we're going to clear the firearm, put it in a safe direction, press the trigger. Trigger must be in the rearmost position to field strip, pull the slide back, pull the takedown levers forward, and push the slide off the front. And today we're going to concentrate just on the lower here, or the frame, and we're going to remove all the pieces that are removable on this frame. I'm going to use a real avid bench block. You can use a roll of duct tape or anything, really, a piece of wood, just to get the gun off of the table so that any of the pins that we push out have a place to go. So that's all we're doing here. I'm going to use a pin punch set. You can pick these up anywhere. Any kind of pin punches will work. You could use a pin punch from a Glock toolkit. This is an inexpensive Glock toolkit that I picked up. I'll leave a link down in the description. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our Glock pin punch tool. This is the trigger housing pin. This holds in the trigger mechanism and the housing assembly and the ejector and all that. And it also holds on, I have a beaver tail back strap added here. This came with this Gen 5 Glock. So I'm just going to line it up with the hole here so that the pin has somewhere to go. And we're just going to push that pin straight out the bottom. That one comes out pretty easy. There it is right there. And then to take this off, we just push kind of sideways on it. This comes off. If you have one on there, you might not. You might have a shorter pin just in here. Next, we're going to punch out the trigger pin here. And this trigger pin holds in a whole bunch of stuff. It holds in your locking block, your slide lock pivots on that, your trigger and trigger bar are also held in by that, and your slide lock mechanism is also held in all by this one pin here. So this pin is very critical, so we're just going to line it up like this. Now it's a little easier when you're pressing this out to kind of wiggle this up and down a little bit while you're pushing on this pin. It just makes it a little easier. So I'm just going to press straight down. Now it went about halfway right there. That's good. So right now it's partially out, so now we're just going to push it the rest of the way through. Alright, and that just pushed right down on through. Alright, now that we have the trigger pin out, this locking block is the next thing we're going to take out. For this, you might need a small screwdriver or a punch with a little bit more of a narrow handle on it so you can kind of use it as a lever. So I'm just going to set it in here like this and just kind of lever this out a little. It just started lifting it up. If you work it a little bit, it'll come right straight up out of the gun like that. And you see how this sits in there and it's held in by that pin. Alright, so the locking block. Next we have the slide stop lever, which is ambidextrous in this model. So you can just hold on to that and pull that right on out. You can see the hole that the pin goes through. There's a spring on here. Be careful not to lose that spring. Alright, now at this point we have the trigger housing pin is out and the trigger pin is out. So now the entire trigger assembly can be lifted out, and that includes this part back here as well as the trigger and the bar that connects them. So you can just kind of put your finger down in here and kind of lift on the ejector. Kind of pulls this whole thing up, and this is your trigger assembly, your trigger bar, and trigger housing assembly right here. Now if you wanted to take this apart, or you're going to take this apart for whatever reason that you are disassembling the lower, this comes out at a little bit of an angle. Just kind of carefully work that out like that. If you want to remove the connector, which is right here for some reason, this actually pushes out from this side. To push this out, you need some room underneath for the connector to go. What I usually do is kind of put it on the underside of the bench block so that when I push it out, it has some place to fall. Okay, so you can do it that way. You can use a roll of duct tape or whatever. If it's real tight, you can use your hammer to kind of tap that out. That's how your connector comes on out of there. Alright, so the trigger housing comes assembled in this way with this spring and this stirrup down here. These are very important parts. If these were to wear out, you can replace these. I'm going to show you how to do that. So you have this piece here. What we want to do is we want to push this like that, and when this pops out far enough, we want to slide it up to the top so it goes into this notch here, and then it comes loose. So I'll kind of show you how to do that like this. Push that out, push that up to go into that top piece there like that. Slowly release the tension, and then that piece comes right out like that. All right, and to put it back in, it's a little trickier to put it back in, but you can actually do it with your fingers if your fingers are not too big. Mine aren't huge fingers, so I'm gonna kind of push this, get the little end of that plastic there to come through there. All right, got it lined up. So just have a finger on here. I'm gonna push it through, slide that down into the bottom slot, and let go. Just be careful you don't launch it across the room. Now we're going to remove the slide lock, which is this piece here, which is the lever to field strip the firearm. You'll notice that there's a little ledge here on one side, and there is not a ledge on the other. This ledge must go back in the same way. The ledge has to be facing the back of the gun. So this is held in place by this spring that's down underneath there. As you can see, you press down on this and that spring compresses. We want to push this down, and then we want to push it out the right side of the gun. So you want to get either your finger or a tool, push that down, and then push it through like this. You see how it's going underneath there. Now at this point you want to be careful. See how it's kind of sliding out there? You push it down far enough and you start sliding it out. Now that spring is going to want to come flying out of here when you push that far enough over. So put your finger over that. Maybe take a screwdriver and push down and allow that to push out. Once you can get a hold of it, pull it out. All right, and now that spring is just sitting there. You can just pick that spring up like that, and that comes out. All right, so the last thing we want to do is remove the magazine release from the frame, and the magazine release just consists of this plastic piece here, which goes all the way through, and then down inside there's a piece of spring steel, which I'm going to show you here. All right, so we got a good close-up here. You want to get a nice screwdriver, and what we want to do is you want to put your finger on this part to keep this from coming out. Get a screwdriver in here as kind of a lever. Set it back in this corner, and you just want to push that spring away so it pops out of the little slot that it's in. All right, and once that's out, get your needle nose pliers in there, and that pulls right out of the V in the bottom, and then your magazine release will fall right out of the gun, just like that. All right, so that is the complete disassembly of the Glock lower, the Glock 17 lower Gen 5. If you found this video helpful, please hit like below. Please leave a comment and check out the description for all the tools that we used here. And thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos on the Glock, including how to reassemble the Glock lower and frame assembly.